Serious, what's the loneliest birthday you've ever had? I was like 6 or 7. Invited all my friends at school to my house for my birthday. Hand wrote the invitations on cool paper and crap. My mom and I set out chairs and balloons and stuff and we made burgers and hot dogs. 7 PM came and went. I was standing at the gate looking for one of the 23 people I'd invited. 2 hours-ish later no one had shown up except my teacher. Ended up being me, my mom, my dad and my teacher eating hot dogs and me just waiting for my friends until about 10 PM when my mom said I had to sleep. I don't think I've had a birthday party since then. Hell, I'm really sorry this happened to you. 2 years ago, working overtime on second shift, a few months after my divorce, during our 10-minute midnight break, my boss, it was just him and I in the office, was getting reviews done, and got to mine. He calls out from his cubicle, "Today your birthday?" I said yeah. "Well, happy birthday." Then he microwaved popcorn and let me take an extra 5 minutes. "Thanks, Richie, I'll always remember that." No family texts or calls, but my boss made me popcorn. My 18th birthday, all of my friends forgot, and after school my dad took me shopping where for some reason he thought it was the perfect time for me to meet my future stepmom. Parents had literally divorced a month earlier. After that I went home where my mom made me nachos, sang me happy birthday, and then drank herself to sleep at 8 PM. Emotionally, it was the loneliest birthdays I've ever had. Not complaining about the nachos though, my mom does make bomb-butt nachos. Sad that your family was so split apart. Hope everything is good now. When I was in the 6th grade, my mother promised to pick me up and drive me home on my birthday. She never showed. My teacher drove me home while I cried. My mom denies it happened to this day. She also did not come out of the garage, where she was high as a kite, until after I had washed my little sister, helped with homework, done my own, and gone to bed. That was by far the shittiest birthday ever. My most recent one. "Hey man, want to see Black Panther tonight?" "Can't. I'm working tonight." Later on his Snapchat story he was watching Black Panther, without me, after I had invited him. Frick, that guy. I'm sorry, but he doesn't deserve you. My 26th. My soon-to-be ex-husband had left. I was alone and looking down the barrel of a divorce. My family was 600 miles away. Couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep. Went to see The Great Gatsby. Cried through the whole thing and still couldn't tell you about it. Thankfully I've read the book and still couldn't tell you about it. Anyway, sorry about your 26th and hoping those since have been better. XXX. My mom told me to invite friends at school. I found out I only had 3 people who I thought were friends. Well, 2, and a third one who was special needs and wanted to be friends with one of my friends. I invited my 2 friends and the special needs kid, and he was the only one to show up. I'm sure it made him happy and his parents were probably happy, but being a kid you think you're the biggest loser when the only person who would hang out with you on your birthday is special. But whatever, he was special for coming. Special to me. Bless your kind heart for giving the special needs kid a reverse birthday present. He who is beloved by the least and lost and won't shun them is one of the kindest people in existence. My 9th birthday, I had invited 10 or so close friends to come on out to the roller skating rink for a pizza party. No one showed up. We ate leftover pizza for about 3 days afterwards. So sorry. Family went to Costa Rica last year. Decided to stay an extra month. Not even a text about my B-day. It was awesome. I got an entire day to myself, which hasn't happened in years. I was able to play a bunch of video games and the only dishes to wash were my own. Best present ever. All of them, for a while now. But I mean the absolute loneliest is maybe a couple of years back. I'd been having a rough time mental health wise and argued with the few friends I had over some stupid crap a few days prior. Spent that birthday in particular in my bed crying. Didn't interact with a single other human being all day. Nobody contacted me. And I didn't contact anybody. It was grim. Jesus. I'm sorry, pal. My 21st birthday. One of my professors gave me an internship over the summer, which started on a Monday after my birthday that year. Either a Friday or Saturday, I forget which. Anyway, I went to school in the Midwest, and it was an 18-hour drive there from I was. So, I arrived at the place I was staying at, and it had no television, nor phone. This was before cell phones were readily available, and being a college town in the Midwest, during the summer, absolutely nothing was open. I ended up getting Burger King as my celebratory 21st birthday meal. Their chicken fries are pretty good. 16 moved out of abusive house to move into grandmother's house. Was told because I didn't want to come home and do what was asked. Mom didn't have to acknowledge my birthday. Her boyfriend liked to threaten to kill me and chase me around the outside of the house because he thought it was funny. Mom stopped by that afternoon to tell me she was going shopping with my sister. I was a slave in that house, glad I'm out. Rather be homeless than go back. That's tough, but you're even stronger to support yourself like that. I hope you're better now, XX. I was born on Christmas Day. Each year less and less people would say happy birthday to me. After the age of 8 I stopped getting parties, cake. At around the age of 13 I even stopped getting cards, and I just accepted that I don't have a special day and I probably didn't deserve, wasn't important enough for a birthday anyway. During my 21st birthday the person I was with at the time was very controlling, manipulative and abusive. I pleaded that we could just stay at home instead of visiting his family that hated me. He gets very pissed at me and says today isn't about you. Okay, so just frick off. I spent the entire day in a guest room in his parents' basement silently crying. So yeah, my 21st birthday was pretty lonely. I was going to say the first Christmas the ex had custody of my kid. My birthday is around the holiday, but no. I think the loneliest was the year before when I had to drive across states on my birthday with her in the passenger seat, ignoring me and tapping on her phone. Being alone for extended periods, that can get to you. But being with someone that makes you feel alone, that's way worse. That last sentence is so very true. My ex would always drive, and once he got a cell phone, he'd be on it for the entirety of every drive we ever took. I couldn't listen to the radio, even. He'd hang up, I'd switch on the music, he would snap it back off and inform me, I'm on the phone, good riddance. 18. I was working as a dishwasher. At the end of the night, one of the garbage bags I was tossing in the dumpster ripped open and spilled beer-soaked food and garbage all over me. It was a 3.5-hour walk home. I kinda distanced myself on my birthday, never really liked the attention. But then again spending it alone sucked as well, lol, being a human is hard. This is me every year. 17, 18, 19 and most recently 20. I started a tradition where I go alone to Domino's and order a large extravaganza and a bottle of Coke and proceed to eat by myself. I've really never had a gift for my birthday, and usually 1 or 2 people at most remember my birthday and wish me a happy birthday on text. 2010. My 37th birthday. A week before my sweet dog died in my arms. The day before my birthday, I spent a couple of hours on the phone with my best friend. We lived on opposite sides of the country, and he promised me he'd call me first thing the next day to sing happy birthday to me. He died the next morning. It's pretty much the shittiest thing you can do to a friend, die on their birthday. My father's best friend died on his 21st. Kind of ruined all birthdays for him since. The last 12 or so. Stopped keeping track. After I buried my mom, no family left, so no cards, no gifts, no cake, no balloons. Same thing for Christmas and all other special occasions. Quite depressing. Didn't have best parents or upbringing, so I was robbed of a normal childhood and miss feeling like a kid to have a gift to open. Sigh. Also, please PM me a PO box or address. I've lived a very similar existence, dude. My kindest wishes and regards. From Australia. 2003. Was stuck in a war I didn't agree with. Never told anyone it was my birthday, and it kinda passed by. I didn't think about it until I was laying down to sleep that night, around 23:30. I had kinda forgotten it myself. Happened to me too, was a young E3 around that time. completely forgot about my own birthday after coming home from being in the bomb dump all day. My 16th birthday. I had really withdrawn from my friends that year because my parents were getting a divorce. But my dad rented one of those party rooms at an arcade with laser tag and go-karts and stuff. I invited 15 people and no one came. My dad got me a dog later that week. My birthday is tomorrow and it's definitely going to be the loneliest I've ever had. A lot has changed for me in the last year, in a good way. I've re-evaluated friendships and dropped a lot of people out of my life that were just bringing me down. This year will be the first year I spend my birthday alone. Part of me is looking forward to having a peaceful birthday, but part of me has this feeling that I'm gonna end up crying in my room by the end of the day. Happy birthday. Do something special for yourself. I have a few for this. 19. Got kicked out of a club within 15 minutes of being there with no phone or purse. Had to break into my apartment to sleep. All my friends stayed out without me, so I spent the night alone. Also, my now ex was flirting with other girls while I was gone. 21. Having dinner with my family, my ex and his family. They all knew I was trying not to drink, but they all drank around me and left me out of every conversation. I may not have been alone, so to speak, but us all being there for my birthday and barely making conversation with me because they were all drunk kind of sucked. Funnily enough, my most recent birthday, which I expected to be terrible, was the best one I've ever had. I was in rehab and expected it to be ignored and I would be miserable. But my fellow rehab inmates went all out, snuck in a cake for me. Sugar was banned at this rehab, and all sung happy birthday to me. They made a banner and everything. It was lovely. I felt more loved that birthday than any other I had, and this was all from people I'd only known for a week. It was probably the nicest thing anyone has ever done for me. Sorry for the long comment. Yesterday was my birthday, 25/8. No one came because I don't have any friends and my new house is far away from the city. PS. Thanks guys. You guys are the best friends that I have. I'm late today, but happy birthday, buddy. My 16th and 17th are both tied for this honor. On my 16th we went to my brother's prom pictures and then out to dinner, but it was really unrelated to my birthday. I went home and watched Kramer v. Kramer alone. I wanted to watch Annie Hall. I would never do that today, but I didn't know about Woody Allen at the time, but they took it off on demand. That was the end of my sophomore year of high school, which was among the most brutal I experienced socially. I spent that whole summer crying and begging my parents to not make me go back to school. Junior year there was less bullying, but I was totally alone in a way that I hadn't been as a sophomore. The week before I turned 17 I was in the library and a popular boy started throwing his shoes at me. He and his friends kept doing it, and when I yelled at them to stop they started filming me and put it on Snapchat so everyone in school could see. A few days later I snapped at him in class and my favorite teacher yelled at me and everyone was mad at me. It was the day before my birthday and I remember feeling like absolute garbage. It seemed like I was totally worthless and no one cared if I got hurt. The night before I turned 17 was the closest I came to killing myself. I sat in my room and kept going back and forth, spiraling deeper and deeper. Fortunately my parents don't own guns and we didn't have any potent medicine in the house. Honestly, killing myself wouldn't have been too much work. I was at the brink, and when I got through that night I knew I could get through anything. I could see so clearly everything I wanted out of life that I would never get if I gave up and died in my room. A high school junior in a tiny town in the middle of nowhere. I was alone on my 18th birthday, but it was a different kind of alone. I took the AP Lit exam and left school early and went to brunch by myself and registered to vote. I was about to graduate, and while my senior year wasn't the movie ideal, I made friends and people seemed to like me. I was about to spend a semester abroad in North Africa and then I was starting school at a college I loved. My most recent birthday was 19. It was the middle of exams, but I still had a great day. My friends and I hung out and talked about life for hours, and we all wrote letters to our future selves. Everywhere I went on campus, people wished me a happy birthday. A girl on my floor left a bottle of red wine in the bathroom with a note saying, "Take it if you want." My girlfriend and I drank it together and watched Brokeback Mountain curled up in my bed. Even with taking that day off, I got A's on all my exams. I spent one in a room, in the dark, by myself waiting for the streetlight to make it across the room once. That was pretty lonely, and pretty intensely dark. I got some texts from family. That was nice in hindsight, but at that point it just made everything worse. Thank frick I got through that and I'm still here though. That's heavy. Also very glad you're okay now. My 21st. My then boyfriend asked his aunt if I can use her bar for my 21st birthday. I had ordered a cake with something I loved in it. I also invited everyone I knew on Facebook. No one showed up. It was just me, him, his aunt, and some old trucker looking guys. I was devastated that no one showed up. It's about to be this 1/26th is tomorrow. I wanted to celebrate with my pals, but I couldn't get off work. And I have a lot of work that I need to complete tomorrow, so this one might just be a clunker of a birthday for me. Birthday twins. Happy birthday. My 17th birthday. I was halfway through my pregnancy. All of my friends had stopped talking to me, and my baby daddy was off doing who knows what with God knows who. I celebrated by baking and decorating my own cake, and sat in my kitchen, eating it with my mother, who had just reaccepted me into her life after shunning me and only speaking to me when necessary, since I was still living with her and in high school, for the past 20 weeks. Jesus. Pregnant at 17. Sounds terrifying. If you don't mind me asking, are you and baby daddy still together? Also, how is your child now? My anniversary is on my birthday cause I thought it was a sweet idea since I could buy her a gift as her birthday was on Christmas. The year after we broke up, I spent my birthday during the day in the library that was really empty, and when the library closed at 9 PM, I went back home and finished a bottle of Macallan. That till date was the loneliest birthday I ever had. 4 years on, I've moved on and never had a lonely birthday again. But I'll never forget the librarian asking me if I was okay and asking me why did I take a book to read the whole of 8 hours. When I told her it as my birthday, she just said this: "It gets better. You don't have to tell me why you're alone, but you have to be comfortable being alone. Learning to love yourself is key to feeling the love other people give you. Happy birthday. Do not give up." It took everything in me to not break down and cry in front of her. I eventually cried when I left the library. Last year I got one birthday wish at 10 PM from an internet friend that I never met IRL. It was sort of surprising, although it didn't really bother me. I'm not the most social person, so I knew it would happen eventually. At that point I decided to have a little fun. I changed my birthday on Facebook to exactly a month later to see if someone would notice. Well, lo and behold, 1 month later and everybody was wishing me a happy birthday on Facebook. Then I decided to switch it again another month later. The same thing happened. It took them 7 months to notice that I had a birthday every month on the same day. Last one, 17th. I was stuck working most of the day at a Target Pizza Hut by myself. I did give myself an extra breadstick in my order because it was my day. The day after I graduated Seaman Apprenticeship A school in the Navy, I had the overnight watch for a few hours, so I spent it on the quarterdeck of our ship. It was just a barracks, but the Navy likes to call everything a ship. I had turned 20 and in the morning I took the metro from Great Lakes to Chicago to then catch a Greyhound south. I never felt like I was on my own more than I did for that 24-hour period. Luckily my mother picked me up from the bus station in St. Louis. We drove home and I passed out as soon as I got home from sheer exhaustion from not sleeping for 24+ hours. 18 is legal here in Canada, so normally it's a big deal. I remember being super hyped about my 18th birthday. It was the start of my adulthood. I could buy booze and cigarettes and get into any club or adult store I wanted. So, I turn 18. I go to school. Nothing happens. I think it was only that lonely because the 18th birthday hype is so big for other people, and I don't remember having any celebration at all for mine. I watched everyone turn 18 after me. I have a full birthday and saw them order their first drinks and go to nightclubs, and I was just there watching. An 18th birthday only comes once, but I think I completely skipped over mine. My girlfriend of 5 years broke up with me on my birthday back in 2012. So that was fun. To add insult to injury, my birthday is on the same week of Christmas, so yay. Lots of awkward questions from family members. When I was 10, I invited a bunch of kids from my class and none of them came. I have a November birthday, so I sat on my front porch in the cold for hours before realizing no one was coming. Never in my life have I had a birthday party with friends. As a kid it would just be me and maybe my mom. For my last birthday no one who knows me even knew or cared, because I don't tell people things like that about me. The day basically consisted of being excluded from a group, yelled at by a professor, going home and doing some remote work for a few hours, and topping the night off with some McDonald's and a bottle of water. I was in bed by 8 PM and asleep by 9. I moved to Shanghai by myself before I turned 23. After a couple months, friends and family slowly stopped talking to me as I began to settle in and they got used to my absence. I didn't make any friends in the time I was there. On my birthday, I slept in, took the metro downtown, walked around and got my free birthday crap at all the stores I could. Then I treated myself to a fancy dinner and took the leftovers home and ate the rest later before my mom was able to give me a call and say happy birthday. It felt really lonely at the time, but by the end of the day I was actually happy that I got out of the house to treat myself and enjoy the day. Organized to have drinks dinner at a local restaurant. I got there, waited. Eventually my boss shows up. We sat making awkward small talk while I started getting excuse messages. I forgot that was today. My mother has already made food. It's cold outside so I drove home etc etc. Boss hurriedly finished her drink and left. I ordered a second in the hope that someone, like even one of my brothers, would show up. Finished the drink and went home. My husband was deployed. He was coming home only a few days after my birthday, but since he was traveling I had no communication with him. I had a few friends who each offered to do something with me that day, but all of them ended up busy with other things. After a very long, listless day I decided to go to this deployed spouse event at a little fun center in town to get my 2 little boys out of the house. But when I approached the table where the spouses were, no one knew who I was or cared. I don't blame them. I'm pretty awkward, especially around big groups of people I don't know. Then I spent another hour wandering around the center near tears with embarrassment and loneliness. My 21st birthday. I was in Afghanistan working about 15 hours a day getting mortars shot at us pretty constantly. My birthday is also right after Thanksgiving and a little before Christmas. It also happened to be at the time in which we were extra stressed due to some major mistakes that cost our entire unit citations. It also happened to be at the same time that both of my grandpas came down with cancer, which also happened to be around the same time that my mom was sent to the hospital, which also happened to be the same time in which I couldn't get a hold of anyone at home anymore because of the above. It was also around the same time that my best friends were all getting serious relationships, of which the girl usually didn't like me, which meant friends stopped talking to me. This was around the time that MySpace existed, so even though I was still far away I got to see that everyone's life was moving on without me. This was the same time that I realized that I really didn't know my friends all that well anymore. That I didn't really know my family all that well, and I didn't even really know much about my family's history, and every day I was losing more and more of it as cancer was taking my grandpas that I never really got to spend much time with. This was the time that I learned how very little I actually mattered in the world, and that if something happened just about no one would care. One well-placed attack on my location, one wrong build of a bomb, one wrong placement of my hands on a missile or rocket, and I'd be just a meat spray. I didn't like that birthday and I was never the same again. You don't really ever get that feeling of self-worth back. You can just muffle the painful screams and yelling in your head with whatever you can. I'm not quite sure what to say, but didn't want to just read this and leave. I hope you're doing better now. You deserve to be happy. It was my 19th birthday and I woke up to a house by myself. My mum said she wouldn't be home until late that evening, so I decided to make the most of the day and go to London, which is about an hour from me. It turns out my friend was also in London and we planned to meet that afternoon. About halfway to London, however, we're informed someone had jumped onto the tracks and there would be serious delays. For the next 3 hours on the train all I could do was think about why the person had jumped and what could have led to something as sad as that. Finally, when I got to London, it was getting dark, and when I went to meet my friend he told me he was going to bail. I got straight back on the train and went home. I was in middle school. A few days before my birthday my sister got into a pretty bad wreck. First night was iffy but she made it through without issue. But she's held up in the hospital for a while. Hospital is about an hour away from home. Parents are divorced but those first nights both tended to stay up there for most of the day overnight. Birthday rolls around. Dad gets me my traditional ice cream cake. I end up eating it in the back of his truck as it melts, alone, in a parking garage in the middle of the night, as they both go to see my sister again, who is completely in the clear at this point. Not my birthday, but I was the only kid out of a class of 25 who didn't get invited to one kid's birthday. It was kindergarten, and he got to stand at the front and call each kid up to get their invite. When it got to the end, and I hadn't received one, I put my hand up and pointed this out. He said he didn't like me and didn't want me to come. I cried, and my teacher tried to guilt trip him into inviting me. At lunch, I was asked to stay back, and my teacher gave me a chocolate and this small magnifying glass toy. That's really fricked up that he did that. What a terrible child. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.